I'm totally over her, sick of her. I chugged a big gulp of beer after saying it, then slammed the empty can down on the coffee table. It toppled over, rolling across the glass surface with a clatter, punctuated by my buddy's laughter. Mike, with his new girlfriend draped over him, winked at me. Damn, Ethan, for real? Ashley's a total knockout, and you're just over her. Seriously, someone else chimed in. You practically hounded her when you first started dating. How long has it even been? How long? I forced a smirk, the slight unease from lying getting drowned out by the alcohol. Even the best dish makes you sick to your stomach if you eat it every day. Girls, you know how it is. I said it loud, like I was trying to convince myself more than them. The club speakers were still blaring some cheesy love song. The lighting was dim, and the air was thick with the smell of stale cigarettes, booze, and sickly sweet fruit platters, making my head spin. I subconsciously glanced at the tightly shut door to our private room. My mind started to wander. Ashley said she was going to the restroom, and it had been almost 20 minutes. Why wasn't she back yet? She couldn't have heard, could she? The thought popped into my head, and I immediately pushed it back down. No way. The music out there was blasting. The door was shut tight. She didn't have superhuman hearing. Besides, what if she did hear? I was just kidding around. Yeah, just a joke. Who doesn't shoot off their mouth a little when they're with their buddies? Seriously over her? Mike leaned in, lowering his voice, a knowing grin on his face. If you're done with her, hook a brother up. Honestly, Ashley's looks, that body. I grab a handful of pretzels and shove them into his chest. Buzz off. She's mine, and even if I'm done, she's not yours to ogle. That came out a little harsher than I intended. Even I was surprised. Mike awkwardly sat back, muttering, just kidding, man. No need to get so serious. Yeah, just kidding. I was kidding too. But for some reason, that unsettling feeling in my gut was getting stronger. I cracked open another beer, taking a few big gulps. The cold liquid burned down my throat, but couldn't quell the strange irritation bubbling inside me. I gotta take a leak. I stood up, swaying slightly as I headed for the door. Pulling open the heavy door to the private room, the bright hallway lights made me squint. The raucous music was muffled behind me. And then I saw Ashley. She was leaning against the wall in the opposite hallway, just standing there quietly. The light from above cast a soft glow on her face, making her skin look as delicate as fine porcelain. Her expression was neutral, just silently watching me. Her eyes were deep, unreadable. I couldn't tell if she was happy or upset. My heart plummeted, like I'd missed a step on a dark staircase. How long had she been standing out there? When did she get there? How much of that idiotic crap I'd been saying? Had she heard? I opened my mouth, throat dry, wanting to explain, wanting to just laugh it off. But before I could say anything, Ashley moved first. She walked towards me, her steps light. A faint smile slowly spread across her face. Not angry, not questioning, not sad. Just smiling. It was such a gentle, beautiful smile, but I felt a chill run down my spine. She stopped in front of me, reached out, and gently smoothed the collar of my shirt that I'd wrinkled. Her touch was impossibly soft. Then she looked up, her eyes crinkling at the corners, meeting mine, and softly nodded. All right, that's all she said. Just 2 words. Her voice was soft, gentle, no different than usual. But I felt like I just plunged into an ice-cold pit. All right, what? What was she all right about? Did she hear me say I was over her, and so she was okay with an amicable split? I stood frozen, my mind buzzing. She gave me another faint smile, then turned and walked into the private room to grab her purse. Mike and the guys went silent the moment Ashley walked in. Their boisterous chatter died, replaced by awkward expressions all around. Ashley, however, acted as if nothing was wrong. She picked up her small purse from the couch and politely said, "You guys have fun? Ethan and I are heading out." Her tone was so natural, as if nothing had happened outside the door. She walked back over, slipped her arm through mine, and looked up at me. Her voice was still so soft. "Ready to go, Ethan?" I felt like a puppet on strings, letting her lead me. I mumbled a general goodbye to my friends, then stumbled out of the club in a daze. The night air hit me, and I shivered, most of the alcohol buzz quickly fading. Ashley's hand was still wrapped tightly around my arm. Her fingertips, pressed against my thin shirt, felt a little cold. I snuck a look at her. Her profile was soft, and there was a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. The streetlights flickered across her face. Ash, I licked my dry lips, trying to speak. Earlier in the room, what I said. She turned to look at me, her eyes bright and questioning. What did you say? She didn't hear? Just, Mike and I were just shooting the breeze. Oh, she nodded, as if it suddenly made sense, then turned her head back to watch the road ahead, her tone light. You guys just love to brag when you're together, don't you? I get it. She paused, then added, I would never eavesdrop on your conversations. She said it so openly, so genuinely. A huge weight lifted off my chest. Damn, I'd spooked myself for nothing. She definitely hadn't heard. If she had, with Ashley's personality, how could she be so calm? Usually, she'd pout for ages if I even spoke to another girl for too long. I let out a long breath, then reached for her cool fingers, tucking her hand into my jacket pocket. Cold? I asked her. No. She snuggled closer to me, a smile in her voice. I'm never cold when I'm with you. See? I was overthinking everything. My mood instantly lightened. I wrapped an arm around her shoulder, already planning to take her to that new sushi place tomorrow. I woke up the next day to sunlight streaming in. A dull hangover throbbed behind my temples. I rubbed them as I sat up. The spot beside me was empty. Ash, no answer. I shuffled out of the bedroom in my slippers, catching a faint whiff of something burning. My stomach clenched. I hurried into the living room. And then I froze. The balcony door in the living room was open. Ashley had her back to me, squatting beside a small metal basin in the corner of the balcony, a basin we sometimes use for grilling small things. Inside the basin, a few sparks still danced. She held the last few items in her hand, slowly dropping them in, one by one. I recognized them. All our photos from the past few years. From that goofy selfie we took in the park the first time we hung out, to the one from last summer at the beach where I had her on my shoulders, laughing and screaming. And those silly sticker photos she always dragged me to take in the photo booth, covered in childish emojis. Not a single one was left. All of them curling, blackening, turning to ash in the flames. My mind exploded like I'd been hit over the head with a baseball bat. Ashley, what the hell are you doing? I rushed forward, wanting to snatch the photos out of the burning basin. But it was too late. The edge of the last photo curled up, flames licking at her smiling face, and then it instantly blackened. All that remained in the basin was a pile of black ash and a few stray embers. Ashley slowly stood up and turned to face me. Her face was clean, no tears, not even a hint of sadness. She dusted the ash from her hands, smiled at me, and spoke in a voice as calm as if she were asking what I wanted for breakfast. You're awake? Headache? I made some hangover soup. I looked at her, then at the basin of photo ashes. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an icy hand. What? What does this mean? My voice trembled. Burning the photos, was this her way of saying we were breaking up because of that joke last night, the one she supposedly didn't hear? Ashley didn't answer directly. She walked past me, back into the living room, and started neatly folding some clothes I'd left scattered on the couch. I bought you a new suitcase. I've packed most of your things, she said, pointing to a corner of the living room. All your essentials are in that black duffel bag. Check if there's anything else you need. Only then did I notice a brand new silver suitcase standing in the corner next to a bulging travel bag. My regular razor, my gaming console, a few of my favorite shirts, all neatly arranged inside. You want me to leave? My throat tightened. I could barely speak. Ashley looked up at me, her gaze still so calm, almost with a sense of relief. What else? She asked, tilting her head slightly. Didn't you say you were over me? She really had heard. She'd been right outside the door yesterday, heard everything crystal clear. That smile, that all right, it wasn't because she hadn't heard. It was because she'd heard everything, the bitch. I panicked, stepping forward to grab her arm. Ash, let me explain. I was just spouting nonsense. Drunk talk, bragging. How could I be over you? I love Ethan. She gently cut me off, stepping away from my hand. Her eyes were completely devoid of emotion. Don't say it. She walked to the coffee table, picked up a small box, and handed it to me. This ring, it's yours, she said. It was the platinum ring I'd given her for her birthday last year. Not expensive, but she'd been ecstatic like a kid and hadn't taken it off since. Now, It lay silently in the velvet box, cold and still. And she pulled out her phone, tapped a few times. Check your Venmo. I instinctively pulled out my phone and unlocked it. On the screen was a transfer she just sent. $50,000. The memo read, breakup fee. The medical bills you covered for my dad before, principal and interest, I've paid you back, Ashley said, her voice still flat. We're even, just like that. 5 years together, and she burns all our photos, packs my bags, sends a transfer, and we're just even? I stared at the terrifyingly calm Ashley in front of me, feeling utterly lost. This wasn't the Ashley I knew. A little bit stubborn, a little clingy, crying when she was mad, laughing out loud when she was happy. I thought she'd make a scene, yell at me, throw things, cry and ask me why. I'd even mentally prepared how to smooth things over. But I never expected this reaction. So decisive, so efficient, so chillinkly composed. No. Ash, calm down, let's talk. I still tried to salvage it, but she was already at the front door, pulling it open. Morning light streamed in from outside, outlining her in a soft halo. She turned back, looked at me, and even flashed that faint, gentle smile again. Ethan, she said, let's just end things amicably. I hope you find someone in the future who won't bore you so quickly. I just stood there, watching her placid, emotionless eyes, watching that distant smile on her lips. A surge of emotions, anger, injustice, unwillingness, crashed over me, hot and stinging. End things amicably, fine. Whatever. Ashley, you're brutal. More brutal than me. I gritted my teeth, swallowing every explanation I had. With a cold laugh, I walked over, grabbed the new suitcase, and picked up the duffel bag. Fine. Ashley, you win. I didn't look back at her. I straightened my shoulders and walked out the open door. My footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. I never once turned around. I thought I could be cool about it, completely unaffected, but by the third day in the hotel, I was losing my mind. The room reeked of a weird mix of disinfectant and cigarette smoke, and a mattress made my back ache. The takeout pasta I ordered was a congealed mess, absolutely disgusting. Nothing like the fresh, chewy noodles Ashley used to make. I threw my fork down, pacing the room restlessly. My mind was just full of Ashley. Her back as she bustled around the kitchen in her apron, her smiling face as she fed me the first bite of the dish, her curled up on the couch, waiting for me to come home until she fell asleep. And that last morning, her calm eyes and that phrase, let's just end things amicably. My heart felt like it was being twisted over and over again, aching and swollen. I had to admit it. I regretted it. Regretted it like hell. I was the biggest goddamn idiot on the planet. Why did I have to show off in front of my friends, say all that garbage? I didn't love anyone else. I wasn't over anything. I'd only been away from her for 3 days, and I felt like my soul was missing. I grabbed my phone, found Ashley's number, and dialed. Ring, ring, ring. The long wait tone. Each ring echoed in my chest. Just when I thought she wouldn't pick up, the call connected. It was silent on her end. No one spoke. Ash. My throat was dry, my voice hoarse. It's me. She replied, her tone unreadable. Where are you? Can we meet? I said, rushing my words. I have so much I want to tell you. What happened that day? It was my fault. I was a jerk. I was drunk and spouting nonsense. You burning the photos, telling me to leave. I deserved it. But Ash, I can't live without you. I was babbling, practically pouring my heart out. A few seconds of silence from the other end. Then, I heard her take a soft breath, her voice carrying a strange, suppressed tremor. Ethan, are you begging me right now? I froze for a second, then immediately said, yes. Ash, I'm begging you. Please give me another chance. I swear I'll never. All right. She said that word again. All right. Just like she had outside the club door. But for some reason, this all right sounded different. I couldn't quite put my finger on how it was different. It felt a little chilling, but at the time, I was so overcome with joy I didn't think twice. You're actually saying yes? I was practically ecstatic. Ash, are you home? I'll come over right now. No. Tell me where you are. I'll pick you up. We can go out to eat, to your favorite place. No need for all that trouble, Ashley interrupted. Her voice suddenly became very soft, very gentle, almost alluring. Why don't you just come to my place? Your place. I didn't quite process it at first. Didn't she live with her parents? How could we really talk if I went there? Yeah, my parents are out of town, traveling, she murmured. Just us. It'll be quiet. She paused, then lowered her voice even further, like a feather brushing against my ear. I miss you, Ethan. That single phrase, I miss you, completely reeled me in. All my doubts vanished instantly. Okay, I'll be right there. Wait for me. Please wait for me. I hung up, then rushed into the bathroom at top speed, shaved, washed my face, and changed into what I thought was my sharpest outfit. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, my cheeks flushed with excitement, I took a deep breath. Thank God Ash was still willing to give me a chance. This time, I absolutely wouldn't screw it up. I needed to tell her how much I loved her, how I couldn't live without her. I even started fantasizing about how I'd hold her, kiss her, beg for her forgiveness once we met. Maybe we could even rekindle things in her soft little bed. At that thought, my body began to heat up. Grabbing my phone and car keys, I practically sprinted out of the hotel room. On the way, I drove like a maniac, ignoring 2 red lights. My mind was consumed by Ashley. Her soft body, her fragrant hair, her dreamy eyes when she was aroused. And that soft, sweet, I miss you, Ethan, from the phone call. It was like a fire, igniting my whole being. I had to have her. Tonight. Now. Only by truly possessing her could I be sure she was really back with me. My car finally screeched to a halt below her building. I looked up. A warm, yellow light glowed from her bedroom window. My Ash was waiting for me inside. I swallowed, ran a hand through my wind-blown hair, then took the stairs 2 at a time. Standing at her familiar front door, I took a deep breath and knocked. Ash, I'm here. Faint footsteps sounded from inside. Then, the door opened. Ashley stood behind it, wearing a white slip dress I'd never seen before, highlighting her slender waist. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes dewy, gazing at me with a look of tender affection. Ethan, you're here. Her voice was soft and sweet. She reached out, took my wrist, and pulled me inside. I practically stumbled in, already reaching to pull her into a hug. Ash, bang. The door slammed shut behind me. Before I could even touch her, a searing pain exploded at the back of my head. Like I'd been smashed hard with something heavy and blunt. Everything went black. All thoughts, all desires, instantly cut off. I didn't even have time to see the expression on Ashley's face before I completely lost consciousness. Pain. My head throbbed like it was splitting open. My neck ached, and my whole body felt sore and weak. Where was I? The hotel. No, this wasn't it. I struggled to open my heavy eyelids. Everything was blurry. It took a while for my eyes to adjust before I could make out my surroundings. It was dark. Only a single dim, yellow wall light in the corner cast a weak glow. The air had a damp, musty smell. This wasn't the hotel. It wasn't Ashley's room either. It looked like a basement. I tried to move, to sit up, but my limbs felt heavy and wouldn't respond. A clink-clank of metal scraping sounded. I snapped my head down, looking at my ankle. In the weak light, I saw it. A cold, dark metal cuff clamped around my left ankle. A heavy chain about the thickness of my forearm was locked to the cuff at one end. The other end was firmly embedded in the cold concrete wall beside me. The chain was short, barely allowing me to move within the confines of this narrow cot. What? What was this? Was I dreaming? A nightmarish, horrifying dream. I pinched my thigh hard. A sharp, clear pain shot through me. Not a dream. Awake. A familiar voice drifted from the dark corner. Soft, with a hint of a smile. My body went rigid. My blood felt like it was freezing in my veins. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, I turned my stiff neck towards the source of the sound. In the corner, an old chair slowly swiveled around. Ashley sat there, dressed in a clean white sundress, looking like an innocent angel. In her hand, she was idly turning a small, silver key. The key shape looked exactly like the one that would unlock the cuff on my ankle. She watched me, her face wearing that incredibly familiar smile, gentle, with a touch of dependence. Just like every time she'd looked at me over the past 5 years. But now, in this dark basement, combined with the key in her hand and the cold chain on my leg, that smile was utterly grotesque, absolutely terrifying. Ashley, my voice was terribly dry, trembling with disbelief. What? What is this? What have you done to me? Ashley stood up from the chair, bare feet padding softly on the cold concrete floor, walking slowly, step by step, towards me. The faint clatter of the chain dragging on the floor, accompanied by her soft footsteps, was unnervingly clear in the silent basement. She reached the edge of the cot, leaned down, and her icy fingers gently caressed my cheek. Her eyes held a tenderness that bordered on obsession. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice sickeningly sweet. "This way, you'll never leave me, right? And you'll never again. Tell anyone you're over me. See?" She smiled, her eyes curving into pretty crescents. "Isn't this a brilliant idea I came up with?" I stared at her face, so close to mine, at those eyes that once mesmerized me, but now felt like an icy plunge. A chilling truth, like a venomous snake, coiled around my heart, tightening its grip. Ashley. She was never some naive, delicate pushover, easily manipulated. That fire that burned our photos, that coldly calculated breakup fee, that phone call that lured me here. It was all set up. From the very beginning, she never intended to let me go. The icy feel of the chain on my ankle was a brutal, bone-deep ache. My mouth was open, but no sound escaped. Only immense terror, like a tidal wave, completely engulfed me. I was trembling like a leaf. My teeth chattered together, a frantic clicking sound. Ashley, calm down." My voice was fragmented. "This is illegal. You have to let me go." Ashley tilted her head, looking at me, her eyes as innocent as a little girl's. "Illegal?" she softly repeated, then smiled. Her fingers slid from my cheek to my neck, icy cold and sharp. "But Ethan, you were the one who didn't want me anymore. I was wrong. Ash, I really know I was wrong." I was practically sobbing, fear making me babble incoherently. "I'm such an idiot. I was a jerk. I was bragging. I deserve this. Just let me go. I'll do anything you say. I'll never hang out with Mike and his crowd again. Shoo." Her index finger gently pressed against my lips, stopping me. Her eyes were fixed on me, holding a fervent, almost deranged light. "Don't talk about later," she said, her voice soft but with an undeniable force. "We're together now, always together. Isn't that better?" She withdrew her hand, turned, and walked to a small table in the corner. She returned with a glass of water and a few slices of bread. "You've been asleep for a while. You must be hungry." She held the items out to me, her voice as gentle as if she were tending to a sick child. "Have something to eat first." I looked at the murky water and the dry bread. My stomach churned. "I don't want to eat." "Ash, please listen to me." "How can you not eat?" She frowned slightly, a hint of chiding in her tone, but then quickly brightened, giving a sweet smile. "Or, Ethan, do you want me to feed you?" As she spoke, she actually picked up a slice of bread, tore off a small piece, and held it to my mouth. "Come on, open wide." I clamped my mouth shut, looking at her in defiance. This was insane. All of this was utterly insane. Ashley held the bread, patiently waiting for a few seconds. When I refused to cooperate, the smile on her face slowly faded. Her eyes gradually turned cold. "You're not eating?" she asked softly. I bit down, turning my head away. Splash! A glass of water was abruptly thrown in my face. The icy water streamed down my hair and cheeks, making me flinch. "I gave you a chance, Ethan." Ashley's voice was like ice. "You're the one who refused it." She put down the glass and bread, then turned and retrieved something else from the corner. It was a collar, a black leather collar with a metal ring on it, exactly like the kind you put on a dog. My pupils constricted. A wave of immense humiliation drowned out my fear. "No. You can't. Ashley, you're completely insane." I struggled, tried to pull back, but the chain's length held me, captive. Ashley easily grabbed my hair, forcing my head back. "Put it on," she said, looking into my eyes, her voice calm but with a chilling, obsessive undertone. "Put it on and you'll be mine. Forever. Get lost. Never." I roared, my eyes bloodshot. She didn't speak again. She just forcefully held my head and fastened the cold collar around my neck. Click! The buckle snapped shut. An instant sensation of tight constriction wrapped around my throat. I felt like a wild dog on a leash. Time lost all meaning in that basement. I don't know how long passed. Maybe a day, maybe several. There was a crude sink in the corner and a bucket for a toilet. That was it. Ashley would come down twice a day. She'd bring me food and water and empty the bucket. She always wore clean dresses, a gentle smile on her face, as if we weren't in a basement, but in some sunny living room. She would even talk to me about how nice the weather was outside, how the flowers downstairs were blooming, what she'd cooked that day. But she never, ever mentioned letting me go. I tried everything, pleading, apologizing, swearing, even furious cursing. But nothing worked. She was like a soft, yet unmovable wall. No matter how I reacted, she would always end up looking at me with that eerily gentle gaze, softly saying, "Ethan, we'll be together forever." My emotions cycled through fear, anger, despair, and numbness. My will was slowly being eroded. Sometimes, watching her quietly sitting in the chair, reading, I'd even have this strange illusion, as if maybe this wasn't so bad after all. The moment that thought surfaced, I broke out in a cold sweat. No, I couldn't go insane. I had to escape. One day, Ashley came down to bring me dinner. It was a simple pasta dish with tomatoes and eggs. As usual, she placed the bowl on the small stool by the cot, then stepped back a few paces, smiling as she watched me. I was starving. I didn't care about anything else, just grabbed the bowl and devoured it. Halfway through, I suddenly stopped, looking at her. "Ash," I try to make my voice sound calm. "Can we talk?" She tilted her head, looking a little curious. "About what?" "Like before," I said, setting the bowl down, carefully choosing my words. "I know I was wrong, terribly wrong. I shouldn't have said those things to hurt you. But keeping me locked up like this, is that really going to solve anything?" The smile on Ashley's face faded slightly. "Aren't we doing great now?" she countered. "No one else, just us. You'll never leave me again. But this isn't a normal relationship." I got a little agitated, tugging at the collar around my neck, a wave of suffocation hitting me. Loving someone isn't about locking them up. It's not about chaining them up like a dog. Ashley watched me silently, her eyes fathomless. "Then what should we do, Ethan?" she asked softly, with a hint of mockery. "Like before? Wait until you got tired of me again, and then casually throw me away like trash." I was speechless. A massive wave of powerlessness and guilt washed over me. "I won't. I really won't again," I mumbled. Ashley walked over, squatted by the cot, and looked up at me. In the dim light, her face seemed especially pale and especially fragile. "Ethan, do you know?" She reached out, gently stroking the collar on my neck, her eyes holding a nearly shattered sadness. "That day outside the club, when I heard you say you were over me, right here." She took my hand and pressed it against her left breast. Through the thin fabric, I could feel her heart pounding frantically. Right here, it felt like I was dying. Her voice cracked with a sob, and her eyes immediately welled up. "I loved you so much. I gave you everything. How could you? How could you say you were over me?" Big tears streamed from her eyes, hot as they hit the back of my hand. I was stunned. This was the first time since I'd been locked up that she'd shown such vulnerability in front of me. She wasn't the gently terrifying captor anymore. She was the girl who would get heartbroken by my words. My heart felt like it had been violently squeezed. Ashley's tears streamed down her face like a broken string of pearls. She made no sound, just her shoulders trembling slightly as she wept silently. The hand pressed against mine was cold and still shaking. I looked at her red-rimmed eyes, at the undisguised pain and hurt within them. All my previous fear and anger strangely dissipated quite a bit in that moment. In its place was a dense, aching bitterness spreading from my heart through every limb of my body. Suddenly, I remembered so many things from before. Her making me dinner for the first time, nervously watching me take the first bite. How her hands and feet were always cold in winter, and she'd tuck her feet in my lap to warm them. How she'd always leave a small light on when I worked late, waiting for me on the couch until she fell asleep. The sparkling light in her eyes when I told her, "I love you." What the hell had I done? All for that ridiculous male pride. Showing off in front of my friends, I belittled someone who loved me so much, made her feel worthless. I think I was finally starting to understand why she had become like this. Extreme fear of loss leads to extreme possessiveness. I turned my hand over, gripping her cold hand that was pressed against my chest. She trembled, then looked up at me with tear-filled eyes. "Ash." My voice was hoarse, but incredibly clear. "I'm sorry." I'd said those 3 words countless times, but this was the only time they truly came from the deepest part of my heart. She looked at me, tears flowing even harder. Every single word I said that day was complete bullshit, I said, gripping her hand tightly, enunciating each word. I was never over you. Not for a single moment. I was bragging. I was showing off. I was the stupidest jerk on earth. You burning the photos, driving me away. I deserved all of it. It's what I get. But I took a deep breath, looking into her eyes. Keeping me locked up like this will both be ruined. Do you understand? Ashley just cried, not speaking. I tried to raise my other hand to wipe her tears, but the chain restricted my movement. I could only lightly touch her cheek with my fingertips. Will you trust me just this once? I pleaded, practically begging her. Unlock me. I swear on everything I have. I, Ethan Clark, only want you, Ashley Davis, in this life. If I ever say another cruel word or do anything to hurt you again, may God strike me down and let me rot in hell. Ashley's sobs slowly quieted. She looked at me, her eyes complex, doubt, wavering, and a flicker of almost imperceptible hope. Really? She choked out, her voice tiny. Really? I nodded forcefully, not daring to let my gaze waver. Ash, you're the one I love. Always, only you. Silence fell over the basement. Only her occasional sniffles and the pounding of my heart could be heard. I don't know how much time passed. She slowly stopped crying. Then, under my tense watch, she slowly pulled that small, silver key from the pocket of her dress. Click! The cuff on my ankle sprang open. The cold metal ring fell away, leaving a clear red mark on my skin. Next was the collar around my neck. The moment the restraint vanished, I gasped, feeling like I'd been reborn. I stretched my stiff ankle and neck, then tried to stand up from the cot. My legs were shaky from disuse, and I swayed. Ashley instinctively reached out and steadied me. Her hand was still a little cold. I found my balance and looked at her. She looked back at me, her eyes still red, like a startled rabbit. Her gaze held a hint of unease, a touch of fear, and a thread of uncertainty. Ethan, she whispered, a tentative note in her voice. My heart softened. All the tumultuous emotions finally coalesced into a sigh. I reached out and gently pulled her into my arms. Her body stiffened at first, then slowly, gradually relaxed. Finally, she leaned completely against me, her arms carefully wrapping around my waist. I'm sorry. She mumbled, her face buried in my chest. Was I? Scary. I held her tighter, feeling her slender body tremble slightly in my embrace. I was the jerk first, I whispered, resting my chin on her head, rubbing her hair. Don't ever do this again, understand? If something's wrong, we talk it out. Don't ever shut yourself away again, and don't ever lock me up again. She nodded softly against my chest. Then, are you still leaving? She looked up, her eyes glistening, filled with complete dependence and vulnerability. Never leaving, I said, cupping her face, my thumb wiping away the damp tear tracks on her cheeks. Wherever you are, that's where I'll be. She finally revealed a genuine smile, tinged with a little shyness and immense relief, like sunlight breaking through after a storm. I took her hand, and we walked step by step out of the basement that had imprisoned me for what felt like an eternity. Standing in the living room again, looking out at the long-missed sunlight, I felt like I'd been transported to another world. The first step back to normal life was a shower. I stood under the spray, letting the warm water wash over me, rinsing away the musty basement smell and those terrible memories. When I emerged in clean clothes, Ashley had already prepared a simple meal, laid out on the dining table. Scrambled eggs with a side of greens and a light vegetable broth. It was simple, home-cooked comfort food, but made my eyes sting. I sat down, picked up my fork, and ate in silence. Ashley sat opposite me, taking small bites, glancing at me covertly from time to time. A subtle awkwardness hung in the air. We both deliberately avoided mentioning the basement, but its shadow clearly loomed between us. After dinner, I automatically got up to clear the dishes. Ashley quickly stood. I can do it. It's fine, I said, putting a hand on hers. I'll wash. She looked at me, then didn't insist further. As I washed the dishes in the kitchen, I could feel her gaze fixed on my back. It held a mix of unease and careful observation. I finished, dried my hands, and turned around. She was standing in the kitchen doorway, like a small cat waiting for its owner's command. I walked over and, naturally, took her hand. Want to watch TV? I asked. Her eyes lit up, and she nodded. We settled on a couch to watch TV, just like old times. But I didn't just watch the game or play video games like before. I found a reality show she liked. She leaned against me. One arm was around her shoulder, the other idly playing with her hair. At first, she was a bit stiff, but slowly, her body completely relaxed, leaning softly into me. When something funny happened, she'd giggle, and I'd laugh along. The atmosphere finally started to feel normal again. That night, in bed, I held her, lying on a soft mattress. Neither of us made any demands for intimacy, simply holding each other close in the quiet. In the darkness, I could hear her steady breathing. After a while, she whispered, "Ethan, I'm scared." Scared of what? I hugged her tighter. Scared you'll wake up tomorrow morning and not want me anymore. Her voice was a little muffled. My heart ached. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. Never, I promised. Go to sleep. I'm right here. She snuggled closer in my arms, found a more comfortable spot, and slowly drifted off. I watched her peaceful, sleeping face, a jumble of emotions swirling inside me. I knew the crack, the fissure between us, wouldn't be easy to fully mend. It would take time, and it would take me proving myself through my actions. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and the smell of food. Walking out of the bedroom, I saw Ashley in an apron cooking eggs in the kitchen. Hot coffee and bagels were laid out on the dining table. Awake, she turned, smiled at me, her eyes crinkling. Go wash up, breakfast's ready. In that moment, it felt warm and familiar, like we were back to the beginning. But soon I noticed something different. My phone, which I'd left charging in the living room, had been moved. At breakfast, she casually asked, "Mike texted you yesterday, didn't he? What was it about?" I picked up my phone and saw it was Mike asking me to grab a drink that night. Right in front of her, I sent a voice message back. Can't. Spending the night with Ash. She lowered her head to drink her coffee, but I saw the slight upturn of her lips. When I left for work, I'd been locked up for days, so I had a ton of stuff piled up at the office. She stood by the door as I put on my shoes, helping me straighten my collar. Come home. Early after work, she said, looking at me, her eyes full of affection. Okay, I nodded. What do you want for dinner? I'll pick it up. Anything's fine, she smiled. I leaned in and lightly kissed her lips. A soft, quick peck. Her face flushed, her eyes sparkling. That evening, I left work on time and bought her favorite strawberry cake on the way home. The moment I walked through the door, she rushed to hug me, like a little puppy finally greeting its owner. Dinner, watching TV, talking. Life seemed to have returned to normal. But those subtle, controlling tendencies were still there. She would check my phone, ask about every female coworker, and get anxious if I was 10 minutes late getting home. I didn't get annoyed like before, or feel like she didn't trust me. I knew it was a symptom of her severe lack of security, something I had created. So I made sure to check in to give her enough reassurance. Slowly, the frequency of her phone checks decreased, and her anxiety about my late returns lessened. She started to trust me again. The turning point came one weekend. We went to the movies, and after the show, we ran into Mike and his new girlfriend. Mike saw Ashley and me holding hands, looked surprised, then flashed a knowing smirk, elbowing me. Well, Ethan, look at you. Got her reeled back in already. His girlfriend also teased, smiling, Ashley's just a softie. People were bustling all around us. Ashley's smile instantly froze. Her grip on my hand tightened sharply, her nails almost digging into my flesh. I could feel her body trembling slightly. Mike and his girlfriend were still laughing and joking, completely oblivious to the shift in atmosphere. I knew Ashley was remembering what I'd said at the club that day, remembering the humiliation. Panic and insecurity instantly flooded her eyes again. I immediately shoved Mike's arm away, my face darkening. Mike, if you can't say anything decent, shut up. I said, my voice sharp. Mike looked startled. Just kidding, man. What's wrong? Kidding. I pulled Ashley slightly behind me, shielding her, and stared directly at Mike. Are we that close? To joke like that about my girlfriend? I raised my voice, enough for the few people around us to hear. That night at the club, I was just drunk and shooting off my mouth in front of you. Every word I said was total crap. My girlfriend? I can't love her enough, so over her, my ass. I'm warning you, don't let me hear another goddamn word about my girlfriend come out of your mouth again, or you'll regret it. Mike's face went from pale to flushed as I ripped into him. His girlfriend awkwardly tugged at his arm. Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you? Mike snapped, his pride wounded, then dragged his girlfriend away, slinking off. I ignored him. I turned, cupping Ashley's face in my hands. Her face was still pale, her eyes a little frantic. Did you hear me? I looked into her eyes, enunciating every single word crystal clear. What I said last time was bullshit. I love you, Ashley. I only love you. There were still a few lingering stares from passersby, but I didn't care. Ashley looked at me, her eyes slowly turning red. But this time, it wasn't from hurt or fear. It was because she was being firmly chosen and protected. She threw herself into my arms, hugging my waist tightly. She mumbled, burying her face in my chest. But this time, I felt her body relax. That weekend was our 5th anniversary. I'd specifically booked a romantic restaurant, bought flowers, and even prepared a new necklace. Not a ring. I felt that deserved a more formal occasion. The atmosphere during dinner was perfect. As we were almost finished, Ashley pulled a small box from her purse and pushed it across the table to me. For you, she said, a little shyly. I opened it to find a pair of elegant cufflinks, engraved with 2 letters, E and Ethan and Ashley. I looked up at her. In the soft light, her cheeks were flushed, her eyes sparkling like stars. Ethan, she said, looking at me very seriously, can we forget everything that happened before? Let's start over. My heart swelled. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand tightly. Yes, I nodded. Let's start over. Leaving the restaurant, the night air was cool. I took off my jacket and draped it over her shoulders, then wrapped my arm around her as we walked home. The streetlights cast our shadows long before us. Ethan, have I ever told you? She murmured, leaning against me, a smile in her voice. How much I truly love you. I stopped, looked down at her, and then I kissed her. The kiss was gentle, lingering, filled with the taste of a promise. When we broke apart, I rested my forehead against hers. I love you too, Ash. From now on, I'll be the one afraid of losing you. She laughed and lightly punched my arm. Idiot. Hand in hand, we slowly walked home. End.